The Lake Vostok discovery. We drilled through 3 miles of ice and found a hidden ocean. The Antarctic ice sheet is the largest body of ice on Earth, covering approximately 14 million square kilometers and averaging over 2 kilometers in depth. Scientists studying this ice sheet in the 1970s noticed something anomalous in radar measurements of the ice depth. Beneath the Russian research station Vostok, which sits at the coldest naturally occurring place on Earth, the ice was floating on liquid water. Not ice. Liquid water, 3.5 kilometers below the surface. In one of the most extreme environments on Earth, there was a lake. Lake Vostok is enormous. Its surface area is approximately 12,500 square kilometers, roughly the size of Lake Ontario or the U.S. state of Connecticut. It has an average depth of approximately 430 meters, with some regions reaching over 1,000 meters. It is divided into 2 basins by an underwater ridge. The water is liquid despite being surrounded by ice because geothermal heat from the Earth's interior warms it from below. The ice above insulates it from the Antarctic cold. The pressure of 3 kilometers of ice above actually lowers the freezing point of the water, keeping it liquid at temperatures that would otherwise freeze it. Lake Vostok has been isolated from the rest of the world for an estimated 15 to 25 million years. When it was sealed beneath the growing Antarctic ice sheet, the organisms within it were sealed with it. Over the following millions of years, those organisms, if they survived, evolved in complete isolation from the rest of life on Earth. The lake contains no sunlight. It is under enormous pressure. It has high concentrations of dissolved oxygen. The water is supersaturated with oxygen. Whatever is alive in Lake Vostok has adapted to conditions unlike anything in the accessible biosphere. Russian scientists at Vostok Station began drilling into the ice above the lake in the 1990s, intending eventually to reach the lake's surface. The project was controversial. Drilling into an isolated ecosystem that has been sealed for millions of years risks contaminating it irreversibly with surface organisms. The scientific debate about whether and how to access the lake without contamination delayed the project significantly. On February 5, 2012, after 20 years of drilling, the Russian drill reached the lake's surface. Water shot up the borehole and refroze. The first samples of lake water had been collected via the refrozen ice. Analysis of the ice core samples recovered from above Lake Vostok, particularly ice that had accreted from lake water on the underside of the glacier, has found evidence of microbial life. DNA sequences have been recovered from these ice samples that are consistent with bacteria and other microorganisms. Some sequences are not closely related to any known organisms, raising the possibility of novel microbial life that has evolved in isolation. The evidence is tantalizing but limited, distinguishing organisms from the lake from contaminants introduced during drilling is methodologically challenging. The astrobiological significance of Lake Vostok is considerable. Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moons Enceladus and Titan are believed to have liquid water oceans beneath their icy surfaces, conditions analogous to Lake Vostok. If life can survive in Lake Vostok for millions of years in complete darkness, under enormous pressure, with no sunlight, the possibility of life in Europa's ocean becomes significantly more credible. Lake Vostok is the best natural laboratory on Earth for testing whether life can persist in the conditions thought to exist on potentially habitable moons. The challenge of studying Lake Vostok without contaminating it has driven significant technological innovation. American, British, and Russian teams have all developed approaches to clean drilling into subglacial lakes. The British team accessed Lake Ellsworth in 2012 using hot water drilling designed to be sterile. The American team accessed Lake Whillans in 2013. These smaller lakes have been sampled with more controlled contamination protocols than Vostok. The techniques developed for subglacial lake exploration will inform future missions to explore subsurface oceans on other worlds. Beneath 3 kilometers of Antarctic ice, in a lake sealed from the world for millions of years, something is alive. We don't know exactly what. We don't know how complex. We don't know how different from everything else on Earth. But microbial DNA from the accreted ice tells us that something is there, surviving in the dark under enormous pressure in supersaturated water, isolated from the sun and from the rest of life on Earth, doing whatever life does when the only thing it has to do is persist. That is Lake Vostok, and what it tells us about the universe may be more important than anything we expected to find under all that ice.